The Memoirs of a Badass Mama. Hey everyone, welcome back to my podcast. And today I'm going to talk about the educational system and how it's been failing my son, who is autistic, and what I want to see change, like what I want to see happen, not just for my son, but for other children who are either going through the same thing or something similar, because I just feel like our kids, um, well, at least I'll speak for my son, my autistic and ADHD son, is, I feel like he's just being lucked out. Like he's not getting the support that he should be getting, and the system is failing him. So let's take it from like pretty much like when he started school. So he's 9 now, but when he started reception, he started going in with an ADHD, an EC, an educational healthcare plan, was it educational EHCP? There we go. Anyways, so we were very, very blessed to be living in, like, we moved all over, but when my son was diagnosed, he went to a nursery. I was a preschool nursery, so prepping them to be ready for reception. And when they knew he was autistic, the nursery, or I should say the preschool, the head was like, we think your son should apply for an educational healthcare plan. And I was just like, baffled, like, what is this? I don't know what this is. How do I do this? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, not to worry, we will guide you step by step. We'll get the ball rolling. And I kid you not, long story short, they did everything. They set up all the meetings that I had to do, and filled out a good majority of the forms and the things that they needed to write to apply. And then that member started in, like, I think October of that year. And then by May, he got approved for his educational healthcare plan. So that is how lengthy the process is. It takes a while. And mind you, that was like, so he was 4 at the time. So 5 years ago. So I don't even know what it's like today in the UK, but I do know it is very hard. I will say where you live definitely does play a role in you getting accepted, your child getting accepted for an education healthcare plan. So like if we were in London, depending on the situation, I can't say, but I truly believe that we would not have my son. We would have been going through a lot of mountains, climbing mountains, going through valleys and stuff just to get a plan for him. And even then, like when I say like we would probably have to have gone through appeals upon appeals. But where we had lived at the time was a small town. It wasn't super big like some counties, but it was relatively, like I would say medium size. But I think that helped. It helped greatly. It also helped that a good majority of children living in that town had autism. It was high. The rates were high in that town. So I feel like the council or the county invested a lot in that particular area. And so when my son got his education and healthcare plan, I was like, okay, great. His preschool head, she walked me through what the plan consists of and how it would benefit my son. And when we got it, I kid you not, that's how I know God is good, because let me tell you, my husband got a job. He got a new job where we had to move back closer to London. And if we had left before my son's educational healthcare plan got approved, it would have canceled out because we're no longer living in the borough. But when he got accepted, I kid you not, about 2, 3, 4 weeks or something like that, we ended up moving to another county. And because of that, as soon as you get approved for an educational healthcare plan, your child, your child, that goes with your child anywhere and everywhere you decide to live in the UK with your child. So he'll never lose it until I think he's like an adult or something, or when he finishes school entirely. Um, and if we had, and so yeah, if we had left before the plan was even finalized, we would have had to start all over again. And who knows, he probably would not have gotten the plan. So we were so lucky that when we moved to the new county, I had to start looking for a school for him because we had already applied for him to start school. You know how you have to go through that whole registering your child when they're first starting school, and you have until like a certain, was it like in January or something, the deadline. So we already had picked a school and everything. We knew the school. I had my top 3. I did all my visits, the site visits, and I said, this is the school he's going to. Then my husband gets a job and it threw us off. So now we moved to the new county, and now this is like in June. And so all the schools have already gotten back to their parents saying whether your kid has been accepted into the school or not. And so now I was like, again, I'm new to this game because I'm not from here, right? And I ended up started looking, and I mean, I made a spreadsheet of, like, I kid you not, probably about 20 schools, and then in categories I wrote like everything that I needed to know, and then if they met that criteria I would check it off. And then I narrowed it down and shortlisted it to, I think, 5 schools, and ended up 3 schools. Then finally I picked the school that I wanted. And so again, like I said, I was new to this. I've never experienced school here in the UK, so I didn't know what to do. And eventually I think I called the school that I wanted to send my son to, and they told me the process that what I needed to do, and which I needed to contact the council, because they're the ones who have to now put your son or your child in a school, since you didn't go through the regular route, right? Well, we did, but like I said, we moved. So I ended up doing that, and I explained that my son has an educational healthcare plan, and I also stated that I want him to go to this specific school. And I remember it was a fight. They were like, no, he has to go to the closest school next where you live. And I again, thank God, my husband has a friend who is I don't know her position, but at the time she was working in a school as like a SENS, I don't know if she was a SENCO, but she worked with special needs kids within the educational system. And so she allowed me to pick her brain anytime I had questions about schooling at the time, before I knew my son was autistic. But then just when I did find out, I had more questions, and I remember just feeling like lost, because I remember when we got the plan, we were told that I can pick a school because when we were living in the other county, and there was one particular school that was really focused on kids with autism, but that it wasn't in my son's catchment area. But I was told that because when we were applying for the educational healthcare plan, if he gets the educational healthcare plan, I could put him anywhere. He doesn't have to be in the catchment area because of his educational healthcare plan. I was like, great. So I remember telling this to the local authority caseworker, um, and I said, my son has an educational healthcare plan. He has the right to go anywhere, and I want to put him in this school. So it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I can't remember what happened because she, in the end, I got what I wanted. I guess she realized that when I hit gave her facts. So I went back to my husband's friend. She would feed me on what to say and what to do, and I'd go back and relay it back to the caseworker. And I guess she's like, "Ooh, this mama ain't joking." And that was the thing. I could have literally just been like, "Oh, okay. Well, what's the school that you want to put my son in?" And but I was like, because I remember certain things, and then getting the validation from my husband's friend, I was like, yeah, no, you're not messing with me. I know my rights. I know my son's rights, and we're going to give him what I want for him. And so we got it. I put him in that school. We literally, once we went through everything, we had the caseworker had to then contact the school. The school had to let the caseworker know if there was availability, any more spots to put another student in, and take a student who has an educational healthcare plan because he has a disability and with special needs. And the school that accepted him, that one that I wanted him to be in, was like, yep, yeah, sure, we'll take him. And my son started school, I think it was either the end of September or the beginning of, it was in October. It was the beginning of October. So yeah, he started late. Like, that's how long the process took, because when I contacted the local authority in August of that year, then we had to wait for school to reopen because no teachers, no Senkos, no nothing, administrators were in the school until school started at the end of August. And then by the time they went through everything, that's why it took so long for him to start school. So he starts school, and you know, just he's at this point, my son's not really even talking, right? If he was talking, it was more like echolay, where it was something that he watched on television, or just heard either me saying or his dad saying or somebody saying, but was more mainly television. And then, so yeah, he wasn't really talking as much. So he starts the school, and I meet the teachers. I meet the head, I think the headmistress, you call it here in the UK. And I'm like, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this. And so, we make it through term. I'm asking questions. I think at that time he had so every student has a journal book that the teachers write in about the day or the week whenever they get a chance to tell us how your child is doing. And so, here and there are things like, he did this or he's this and blah, 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 whatever, right? Nothing big. But then it was like, there's just, I don't know. First of all, his teacher, she just had this, it's like she had a pickle up her ass. She had an attitude, and I swear to goodness, I had to do so much to just not just snap, because I just didn't like how she spoke. I remember one time it was picture day, and she didn't send me nothing in my son's bag to tell me that it was my son's, that he was going to have his picture taken. And then the pictures come back, and you know how they give you the proofs to look at and decide which one you want. And my son's looking like a daggone hot mess. And I was like, what the hell? I didn't get nothing, no papers, nothing about this picture day. So when I went the next day, I said, why didn't anybody tell me that he was having, his pictures done? I'm like, this is very important to me, because this is his first year in school. And his grandmother wants a picture of him in his uniform and stuff. And she just gave me attitude, and it was well, as if it was nothing. And she's like, well, we're doing picture day again in the in the spring season or something. I'm like, I don't really care about the spring. The fact of the matter is that you didn't tell me. And I just had to walk away because I was like, this woman, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Sorry, but there's a song I caught on Instagram the other day where this woman was like, when people piss her off, she sings this song, and let me see if I can remember it. She's like, um, Lord help me from slapping somebody today. Help me from slapping somebody today. And I don't remember the last part, but I was just like, yo, I need to memorize this song when people work my nerves, especially when I'm out in public and people want to try me with my son. Instead of me having to like literally have like a verbal battle with them, it's just like, just sing the song. Just sing the song. But anyways, I just went off topic there, but I just thought that was funny. So anyways, that's how I felt with the teacher. But then the Senko started to get involved and was, telling me things like, my son had a lot of sensory issues. I shouldn't say issues. I hate saying issues. He had a lot of sensory needs, and they didn't know how to deal with it. And so they would always consult me. What should we do? Da, 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 da. I think we had, not even within the year of being at that school, I think we had 2 or 3 meetings with the local authority to discuss his educational healthcare plan, changing it up and stuff like that. So really, you're supposed to have, I think, 1 a year, which is called like you're reviewing the educational healthcare plan, hoping that your child is progressing year after year. And it just was getting really, I was getting frustrated. Like the school just didn't seem to really help with my son and his needs. And what's crazy is that they made it clear that they could assist. They could assist my son, his autism and his needs, and that they had no problem accepting him as a student at their school. So when that all wasn't met, and there was just more frustration with, I guess, with the teachers, and like just not knowing, I guess, how to handle my son. And now when I think about what I'm saying to you, because it was all fresh and new with me too as well, I'm just like, yeah, they were never equipped. And then I do remember saying, I just think they wanted the money. So I know at the time when my son was started school, I think the educational healthcare plan, I don't know if it's with all children, but they get like 10K. I shouldn't say that. Well, the school can get up to 10K. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I remember hearing. And so the council or the local authority gives that to the school, and that money is supposed to go towards that specific child and their needs. So whether the school needs to hire a one-to-one teacher to come in and support your child, or certain like, let's say your child needs a weighted blanket. That's one of the things that they got for my son. Fidgety toys and stuff like that. That they can take that out of the education healthcare plan, right? And so they just weren't doing it. Just was always something, and it was working my nerve. And anyways, long story short, I think, because this has been a while, so man, I'm trying to remember here. They felt that they couldn't assist my son in his needs anymore. So now so he starts in October, and by April, the school is telling me, as well as in a meeting with the local authority caseworker, that they can't meet his needs, and that they feel that it's best that he goes to another school who can probably be more supportive of those needs. And they gave me one that they felt stood out within that in our county. and thought he would thrive even better than how he was at the school. And so I was like, okay, cool, right? And at first I was like, no, because it was like they made it seem like it was a special needs school, and my son does not need to go to a special needs school. He just needs extra support, right? He can thrive in a mainstream school, but he just needs that extra support. There's a huge difference. And again, at that time, I did some research between the difference between special needs schools and mainstream schools, and I was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. Not have nothing against special needs schools, but I'm just saying, as a parent, when you know your child, you know your child, right? If I could be in the class with my son and help him and support him along the way, I would, but unfortunately, they won't do that, right? So, um, they so at first I was like, no, because you keep saying this is a special needs school, and then they had to explain to me like, no, no, like it's got a special needs program within the school, but he will be spending a majority of time um, in a mainstream setting because it's a mainstream school. So that happened in April. By May, my son left the school and went to the school that they suggested. So now for May, June, July, he had just 3 months left before the school year was over. And I kid you not, like my son, he improved. Like it was insane. You did see the difference, especially with like the teachers were more caring and loving and nurturing towards my child. They really took an interest. They were really thorough with like what my son was doing throughout the day, leaving in their journals what went down. I barely got any like, oh, your son today was this and your son today was that. And if it was something, it was the way they addressed it, the way they worded it, which makes a huge difference. Because I feel like some of these teachers in schools in general do not know how to use the proper words, the proper whatever you want to call it, to address something to a parent or even the child. You know what I mean? It's like you think about what you're writing, read through it. Shoot, ask your colleague first to go through it before you send it, because you really can hurt people. You really can hurt their feelings, and I just feel like the school prior just was horrible. Like I said, I wasn't even feeling his teacher to begin with, but when we went to the other school, oh my goodness, just everything was so just. I remember feeling like, okay, this is the school. Okay, my son's gonna thrive. Okay, we're gonna be good. So my son finishes his reception and he does well, and he goes to year one. And year one, he has this amazing teacher. Oh, amazing. She was wonderful. She really cared not just for my son, but for all her students. But her team, her staff, that included, I think there were about 2 to 3 one-to-one support teachers in her class. Oh my gosh, all of them were amazing. And I just remember being like, he was just thriving when it came to his reading, his writing, his math. He was just doing really good, and like to the point where the teachers were like, he has such neat writing. He's so smart and this and that. And I was like, wow, okay, he started talking more, which was like, where the hell did that come from? Like, I was just amazed. I was like, what are they doing at that school? Because I am just loving it. And then he just did well that whole year. He went to he had a special SEN teacher, so special educational teacher. needs, I should say, special educational needs teacher. So when he was in the mainstream class for a period of the day, there were times where he would go into um, the um, the SEN class, and then go back, right? And then throughout the year, we had an occupational therapist and a speech and language therapist. So we had the county's own speech and language, and then I privately got a speech and language therapist that I paid for out of my pocket, and she would come by. She would go to the school. If I thought it was best for her to just go to the school rather than her coming to my home. I think she came one time, but it was better to see the setting that he was in and understand, and work with the teachers should there be things that she wanted to convey to them that would benefit and help my child. And so that's what everything was just working well. The occupational therapist would give advice to the teachers when they would go and do their visits. So they did quarterly visits, and they would go see what areas that needed to be worked on with my son, and give them, as well as me, ways to help him. So that's where the whole, like, again, they thought about getting him a weighted blanket, because my son had this thing about, he doesn't like to sit like on a chair. Like he'll like lean against a table and just rock back and forth or something like that. And that's what the teachers were saying. And I did catch that a couple of times at home too. I shouldn't say a couple of times, I did catch it at home. And so the occupational therapist thought it would be good to have something to keep him weighted down, especially when they were in a class setting and everybody was sitting down. Let's say the teacher was reading a book to them or something. When he would be on the floor, put the weighted blanket on him. What other things did they do? I think that was one of the major ones. And give him, again, fidgety toys and things like that. And then, so, all that we were working with, because like I said, my son had very high sensory needs, very high. And then he was done. And so there's this thing in the school system here in the UK where it's like, is it a literacy test or something like that? Some type of test that they do for all the years to see where the I guess each year is I guess, how can I put it? Just to see how like they're doing overall. And so like they make them do the test. This test, I guess there's like a book, and almost like you're doing like an SAT test, from what I gathered. And then you don't get like I can't remember if you get like the students don't even realize, like, especially when they're in year 1 and 2, that what they're really doing. But in the end, you get a form, you get like a paper the teacher gives to you, and it shows you where your son or your child stands within, I guess, that. I'm really like annihilating this right now, what I'm trying to tell you. But anyways, he pretty much passed with flying colors. Like, that's when I realized, like, oh my gosh, my son, he's I think he is, I don't want to say genius, but he's smart. He's really smart. And so I remember being like, okay, we got to run with this, because he can be, with everything that I saw, the way he would, like, my son knew how to count in languages, like, at a really early age. Before he was 3, he was counting in Spanish. And, mind you, I'm not Spanish, but, he took a liking to I mean, heavily took a liking to Spanish. I ended up having to download this app that was like a kiddies app. I can't remember the name of it, but it taught English, and it taught Spanish, and it taught numbers and letters and all that stuff. It was almost like number blocks and alpha blocks, but like it was an app. And he was just picking up on those things. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know how, like, even today, just now, actually, well, not now, like in the afternoon, he was like, just when I was making their lunch, and I had like little fairy cakes, and he's like saying cake, and then he's saying in Spanish, and then he was saying another word, and I can't remember the word, but I was like, is that really how you say it in Spanish? And then I asked Google, and sure enough, it was. I was like, how does he know this? And I'm like, well, you did give him a Spanish book to learn about everything about Spanish, so he obviously is retaining it and picking it up. So, um, he's like a sponge, and it's crazy. I admire that about him, because when I was younger, I struggled in school, particularly with English and math, and everything else, like biology. I just was a creative person. I was into arts and entertainment and stuff like that. But I always used to say, I wish I had, like, when we would learn something or I'd read a book, it would just stay in my head. It wouldn't. It was hard for me, but for my son, it's nothing. So I was like, he can go somewhere with this, but he just needs that little bit of support to keep him focused in school. So year one is done, and we now we're heading into year two. So year two starts, and before year one, sorry, ended, his year one teacher leaves the school, so she's not coming back next year. And I was like really sad about that, but at the same time, his one-to-one support teachers were still there. And I remember, just thanking them at the end of the school term, because they were just so amazing, and they just did the progress that I saw my son, the transitioning of where he was at the old school to now this school. It was like, it was night and day. And I was like, thank you guys. I think I even bought them gifts, because I was touched. So year two starts, and my son has a new teacher, and it's a guy now. And like I've said in my previous video, the last episode, how I would write a letter at the beginning of the year to his teachers, to his new teacher, and stating who my son is, what he has, what he likes, what he's all about, and how you can work to support his needs. Always did it. And so I gave it to the teacher, and he thanked me for it. And he was like, this is really helpful, and this will help me to help your son. So, first month goes by, second month, October, we're in. And now, again, in the journals, I'm starting to get a lot of your son is this, your son did this today, da 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 da. Or the teacher would always be like, I'd come and get my son to collect him at the gates, and he'll be like, oh, miss, can you just stay for 1 second? I just need to talk to you. And then he'd go on about what my son did today, or your son was really loud, your son was just, he was singing these songs, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was from the movie Sing. Yeah, and he loves the movie Sing. Yeah, well, he just doesn't know how to turn off, blah blah blah. This, like, oh my gosh. So I got to the point where I just was like, oh God, if I have to hear something when I pick up my son today, I swear to goodness, like, I really don't want to hear it. So another day this happens, and I said to him, so where is his one-to-one support teacher? Because he said something where made me ask that question. And he's just like, what are you talking about? I said, he has a one-to-one support. Where's Miss So-and-so? And he's like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have a one-to-one support. And that one-to-one support teacher, she's in the other year year two class. I said, oh, what? Okay. I'm like, but he's supposed to have one. He's like, no, he doesn't have one, and not to my recollection, he should not have one. And I'm like, okay, so what are you talking about? He's like, well, I really don't know, and I think the best person to discuss this with is the Senko. I said, okay. So I go home, I send an email. I said, what's up? Like, what happened to my son's one-to-one support? No one told me that you were taking his one-to-one support. What is he doing? What are y'all doing? So she eventually gets back to me, and she tells me that due to hold on, I want to skirts. Let's go back. She tells me that they took his one-to-one support teacher away from him, and that she's in the next class, and that he will be on his own with every now he where periods within the day where he would go to the special needs classroom. There's a name for it. It's SRP. SRP. I think it's SRP. And he would go there with the SEN teacher. So like, let's say the morning. I think it was in the morning. So when he would go to school, I drop him off. He wouldn't be starting the class in the mainstream setting. He would probably do maybe the first couple minutes, and then head to the SRP room where he would be learning with other special needs children with the SEN teacher. I know it's a lot. And then go back. So let's say maybe when it was like gym time at like 10, 11 o'clock, he'd be back in the mainstream. Then he has lunch. And then for the rest of the afternoon, he would be in the mainstream class. So that was where I eventually found out, like, okay, so this is why maybe my son just seems to be all over the place and why you think he's being a tyrant. And because, like, he's not getting that break. He's not, like, put him in the sensory room, that give him that, to calm him, especially after lunch, right? Or why can't he just go back to the SRP room? Like, I just don't understand. And so the Senko was like, let's have a meeting. We'll talk. Let's have a meeting. So we talk, and I'm thorough. I asked my questions, and I said, so I don't understand. First of all, why did you take his one-to-one support teacher away from him and then not tell me? Like, you just took it away. You didn't tell me anything. You just started year 2, and I had to find out over a month and a half later, because that's when I found out that you took away his support teacher. And so then in the end, they're basically saying, oh, budget cuts is the main reason. They don't have enough financial support to get another one-to-one support teacher to come in and help with my son. And I'm like, okay, so at this time I know the one-to-one support teachers in the year 2 class. So what happened was, when they started in year 1 with my son, they transferred, all, and the other kids, they transferred to, they went with the kids to year 2, right? And I would see them every day and talk to them, right? And I remember talking to the one that he had in year 1, and I said, what happened? And she's like, I don't know, Mom. I don't know. I don't know why they took away your son from me. They put me in this year year 2 class, but I really don't know. And I was like, okay. So long story short, what I went through and what I endured with that first school started happening with the second school. Okay. And the second school now comes to me, gosh, when was this? It was in the after Christmas. So it was in the new year of that year, probably about maybe March. I can't remember. I know it wasn't spring yet. And they were like, and I guess maybe I might have brought up something. I don't know how we ended up having this meeting, why we had it. So, and then I ended up going into this meeting with the Senko and his SEN teacher. And they basically, the Senko said that we feel that your son, after year 2, is going to have a very difficult time being adjusting to year 3 and beyond, because he will not have one-to-one support, and because we just don't have it, we cannot. And I remember being like, so what happened to his educational healthcare plan? It's not enough. I'm like, well, and I remember like, well, how much would it cost to get, a one-to-one support, a new one-to-one support? And, they're like, well, the salary is this, and this is all we're getting from, the educational healthcare plan. And I was like, so what are you trying to say? And they're like, well, we feel that it might be best that you homeschool your son, because we see how you are as a parent, and you're amazing. You're just, you're one of those moms who cares. But we think that your son will thrive better being homeschooled than being in a mainstream school. So I was like, first of all, I'm like, I ain't a teacher. I barely could teach myself. Like what? Like, no, I can't do this. And they were like, they went, the whole spiel about, there's tons of help out there for parents who want to homeschool their kids. We can, help you find links, have Facebook groups and all sorts of stuff. It may be scary at first, but you're going to do well. You will do well. And I was like, I don't know. And I remember being like, well, what if I don't want to do that? And they're like, well, we legally cannot tell you that your son cannot come to the school. If your son wants to go to the school, we have no choice. Like, we can't say no. But we're just letting you know it's going to get difficult for him come year 3. I was like, geez. So you think about, what would you do? You're in this position. They're telling you all this. And you're like, oh my gosh, like this, look what we're going through now. And, the teachers, and I didn't say, so his teacher in year 2, when Christmas was over and we all went back, all the kids went back, he was gone. He left the school and they brought in a new teacher. So I had to do the whole spiel again with the letter about who my son is and stuff. And I was like, we got nothing from the school saying this is the last day for Mr. So-and-so. He didn't even say goodbye. I won't be here next year. I'm transferring or I'm doing something. I don't know, whatever. I just thought that was shady for the school and the teacher to do that, right? And messing up the kids. And think about the kids come back and they're like, where's my teacher? Who are you? Anyways, so I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but they kept coercing me and just kept I guess filling my head up, making me think like, okay, maybe I can do this, but I don't want to do it because I've already got 3 kids at home. They, and I just, 2 were at home, but one was just started nursery. And I was like, I don't know. I don't even know how do you teach when it comes to things like, I hate fractions. Even now I struggle to teach in fractions. Like, I don't know what to do. So in the end, I felt horrible because I was like, I don't have a choice here. What am I going to do? So I don't want my son to suffer come year 3, especially if he doesn't have that one-to-one support. And it seems like no one cares. So, but me. So let me take him, and I will try. I would do my best. I'm going to walk in. I'm walking like I know absolutely nothing, but let's see where we go with this. So I ended up, that was, I think, in like March, April. So I had to go back. I had to sit with the Senko and, mind you, when the SEN teacher, so the Senko had mentioned putting him in a special needs school. And when she said that, I look over and the SEN teacher is like shaking her head like this. And I said, why are you shaking your head? She's like, your son does not need to go to a special educational needs school. I came from one before coming to this school. And I can tell you right now, it will only make things worse for your son. She's like, I advise you to homeschool him instead. I said, okay. I was like, well, that leaves me with no options now. So then I ended up agreeing and then having to spend like a good hour and a half. It felt like it was long, going through the process of, so when you decide to homeschool your special needs child, you have to sit with the Senko and they go through everything, almost like the educational healthcare plan, like when you're doing your review. And she would ask me all these questions, what my vision was for my son, my goals, his goals, just anything and everything that she was asking me about. And then she said once all that was done, she was going to send it to the local authority, in which they had to approve whether or not my son could be homeschooled. And they approved it pretty much right away. And then they transferred those details to the homeschool. I don't have the correct terminology, but it was the homeschool department of the county. And then they took over, where they placed my son with a homeschool caseworker. And so she came over to the house to talk about like what to expect and how I was going to homeschool my son, the things I would do for him. And, and I also had to write out like examples of, I guess, like what a week would be like lesson wise for my son. And so I put that all together, and I was on my way. In May, my son was homeschooled. And let me tell you how I hated it. It's just gonna be real. I remember joining like forums that I was given from, like, I have a friend who homeschools her kids, but like even like the teacher, and I just remember being like, everyone just seemed like just so pro homeschool and just felt good about it. And I just didn't. I just like, I'm not cut out to do this. I really am not. I'm not, okay, I'm gonna keep it real. Okay. I need my time. I need my space. I need time to just relax, relate, release. And to have my son all day, 24/7 with me, along with the other kids, it is a lot. These last 2 years, I think now, it's been just over 2 years. It has not been easy. And I even like, as in like yesterday, I struggled. I cry a lot because it's just having to be a mom, a stay at home mom, now a homeschool mom with a child who's has autistic and has ADHD, and another child who also could be autistic, and we're just waiting to hear back. And then my little one who's not even talking yet, she's got some speech and language delay. And then my other one who goes to school, but the whole doing the school runs to and from, like, it's a lot. Okay, a lot. So, and then everything else you got to do as a stay-at-home mom: the cooking, the cleaning, the groceries, the doctor's appointments, signing forms, reading documents before you sign off. It's a lot. Okay, I big ups to you moms and dads out there who can do this, because I'm struggling. And if you can give me some feedback, that would be wonderful, because I'm telling you, I cannot do this on my own. It's hard. And I say, it's funny I'm saying on my own, because really and truly love my husband and love my husband, but the help is not the same. It just isn't. I do feel like I'm doing everything on my own most of the time. So it was hard. So I remember May comes, and I think I did for a couple of weeks with my son. And I said, okay, I remember my friend telling me, the one who homeschool, that she ends when she stops the studying with their kids, and they go on break for a couple of months before they start back up in September. And I said, I'm gonna do that then. I think my son's been through a lot, and I've been through a lot, the in and outs. He loved the school that he was in, that second school. He made every kid. Oh my gosh, every kid loved my son. It was like we would be out and about when he wasn't in school, and out of nowhere, someone would be calling his name, and they'd be running to him. And bless my son, because he's autistic, right? He's just it's that social communication that it just didn't catch on with him sometimes. But it wasn't like he didn't want to talk to them. It would be like he may be looking there while the kid's looking directly at him, and that's with a huge smile on his face. And I was like, you're so popular, everyone loves you. I just thought it was like, oh. So when it broke my heart when he had to leave that last day, they made him this booklet of like good luck wishes and all the best. I'm telling you, I remember that day. I was like, I think I made a big mistake. I think he needs to stay. I think he needs to stay. And then I was just like, no, okay, just, you're nervous. That's all it is. You're nervous. And I am still nervous to this day. It's a little bit better. I'm not going to lie. I've come to learn my son's needs and work with them. But at the same time, it is very hard to keep a child with autism and ADHD focused. I can 30 minutes tops on 2 subjects. I can do with my son for the day. And then it's like, what do I do now? Right. I don't even do that much if I was by myself and the kids are all at school in a day, the way I have to be on it with my son, because if I don't, he is just going to get bored. And that's what it is. It's like he gets bored at times. He's watching. I can't tell you how much I can't stand YouTube. It's funny because like I'm doing this on YouTube, but for my son, it drives me nuts, right? But so I have to now limit. I do limit his YouTube watching time. But if it's not that, now he's at this age where he's almost an adolescent, and he's always asking me like, Mom, what are we doing today? What do we have planned for today? And I'm like, really nothing, because I've got the little ones as well, and I can't really do much with my son. So when my husband is home, when he's off, it's either him or myself where we try to do things with my son. I try now more to do things only with him. So like last week we went into London, and we went to the Science Museum and had a little fun. And then after, because he's obsessed with trains, we were on a train journey all across London for about 3 hours. We just sat on trains, and that is his life. Like if he does not become a train anything in that train industry, oh my goodness, I'll be shocked, because this kid is obsessed with trains, him and his brother. So those are the things that I do. But do I like doing this? Do I like being a homeschool mom? Absolutely not. Do I think that the system has failed my son, the educational system, as well as the government? Absolutely. Absolutely. So what happened now, what has happened now is that I realized that I was told again from my husband's friend that I had met up with her in the summertime, and I was telling her, I need a tutor because there's some subjects that I'm just not good at, like fractions with my son, and he needs to learn fractions. And I just, she's like, but he has an education healthcare plan. And I said, I was told he can't use that. No, he should. She's like, call up your local authority to speak to the caseworker. So I do that. And then the caseworker comes back to me and says, no, unfortunately. she tells me no, but she's like, I no longer am in this department or whatever. And so this is his new caseworker, right? I'm like, so, okay. And then it dawned on me that when was the last time we had a review of his educational healthcare plan? Well over a year. I think it was like the last time was when, yeah, it was like over a year and a half. So we realized that let's have a meeting. And the new caseworker is going to have a meeting with me, and we'll sit and discuss review his educational healthcare plan. So that was in August when I contacted them. The educational healthcare plan review meeting was in the end of September. And so we have the meeting, and we're going through everything page by page. And then we get to the part where it says, she asks, like, what do you want for your son? Like, what do you need, and all that stuff. And so, mind you, I was back and forth in email saying, I have a right to get some tutoring help. It's part of his education healthcare plan. And they kept coming back to me saying, no, because you elected to homeschool him, you can't get it. And I was like, what? And it didn't dawn on me. And then after, out of nowhere, I realized, oh my goodness, that was when the Senko sat with me with the SEN teacher, and they didn't tell me about this. I just thought it was the terminal elective homeschool care, or whatever it's called. They didn't say that I would not, if I go this route, I won't have any assistance whatsoever. But at that time, I wasn't thinking anything like that, anyways, right? It was, if it wasn't for my husband's friend who told me this past August about, my son has the right to get some funds to go towards a tutor, I would never have known. So when I asked them, we were going back and forth. I was going back and forth with the caseworker, and they're like, no, 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 no. And then I realized, oh my gosh, okay. So because I elected, now they're not going to give me anything. I was like, what the? I was pissed. I was so pissed, because I was like, that's just not fair. Like, first of all, both schools have just failed my son, say they can't assist him. They now end up having to homeschool him. And then now I'm asking for help financially because I don't have it. And you don't even want to give it to me to help my son for a tutor? Like, come on, are you flipping serious? This is how I got, maybe with tears, but this is how I felt. Okay? Because that's when I realized this school system sucks, and they do not care about my son and his needs. So we end up having the meeting and I had the meeting with the new caseworker, and we're going through everything. And when she asked that question, what do you need for your son, whatever, and I went back, I said, like I told you in my emails, my son needs some tutoring help. I need some financial assistance. And I know I wouldn't even get it. I was like, just pay the tutor. I find the tutor, just pay the tutor, please, because I need help. I need some help here. And then she was like, but we can't do that, and blah, 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 blah. And because you elected to homeschool him. So then I went again talking about how the school failed him and how they forced me to homeschool him. They didn't give me other routes and to other options. It was just like this and only this. And then she proceeds to tell me, well, I don't know why the school told you that, because they can come to us and apply for a almost like a grant or extra funding on top of what he gets on his educational healthcare plan if the school is struggling to meet the needs of the child. And I was like, what? So you mean to tell me they could have tried? And let me tell you, I said to the caseworker, excuse me for 1 second, I just need to leave the meeting for a second. So this is like we're doing like a Zoom Microsoft Teams call. And I bust out crying, because I was like, my son possibly could have been in school, could have had that support, could be thriving right now. But for some reason, the school didn't do this. So when I got my composure together and I got back onto the call, I said, she then continued to explain to me that she didn't understand why the school never contacted the local authority, which is her at the time, her colleague, who was the old caseworker, to sit down and all of us discuss the issues that the school was having to support my son's needs. And from the local authorities' point of view, they looked at it like I wanted to homeschool him. Like it was 100% me who wanted to homeschool him, because based on how the Senko formulated everything that she needed to write and send off to the local authority, who then sent it off to the homeschooling department. Oh my God, even now when I talk about it, I just get so pissed off, because I'm like, I said this to the caseworker, the pain, the work, the hard work, the countless, just the energy and everything I had to put into just these last 2 years almost of just educating my son at home has been hard, hard. It's not easy. And to not have the support even when I ask for it and it is there, but they don't want to give it to me. That's when I realized this is a bunch of crap. This system. This is a bunch of freaking crap. And no one cares. No one cares about my son. And I'm now gonna have to fight hard. So that's when it was like, girl, put on your big panties and buckle up, because um I need to work hard. And when I say work hard, like I don't play now. Mama don't play. So now the caseworker, in the end, that review meeting took over 2 hours. I think it started at like 9. I think it started at 9:30, and it finished at 12 o'clock. And one of the longest review meetings I've been in for my child's educational healthcare plan. And I just remember, so afterwards, she was like, well, what else do you want for your son? And I said, I would like to put him back into school, because it's getting harder. And I don't feel like my son is thriving. My son has put on weight. Ever since he left the school, he's put on weight, which I'm trying to manage, because let's be clear, he's at home all day most times, there's not, if I was in London, it'd be a different story, because yes, there's so much to do. You walk around, I mean, tons of stuff to do. You can never get bored, even with a child in London. But when you're living on the outskirts, like, there's not so much to do. And if you can do it, you need a car to get around. Buses are not reliable like London transport buses. So, and people may say, oh, you're just not finding the right this, or you really need to join this, or you really need to join that. True, I could join homeschool mothers and meet up with them with their kids. But if they're not autistic, and then they see how my son gets on, and then it's like, oh, I see this and why see that, oh, he's quite loud. I'm just like, no, it's all right. I'll just do me. Like I said, I have one friend who, she's amazing, because her kids are autistic too, but she's a good 45-minute hour for me, so it's not like I can always meet up with her. And so yeah, I just feel like easier said than done. Like, obviously, if there are homeschooling programs for autistic kids where I could go meet with other parents, that would be great. But I'm at a point now where I'm just like, I still feel like I can't give my son what he needs to, I believe, thrive and make it to potentially university. He could definitely go to college, but if he has the smarts to go to university, which I think he does, how the hell am I giving him that? I just don't know how. Right when it's time to do his A levels, whatever you call it here, I don't know how to do that. Like, we're getting into things like, this is the thing. They kept talking in his Senko. They're like, it's all about life skills. Half the stuff they learn in school, they're not even going to apply it in life. It's all about life skills. He needs life skills. He'll be fine, Mom. True. But what if he has the brains to be a doctor, a neurosurgeon? What if? You know what I mean? My son is musically talented. What if he's the next Mozart? Believe it? Yes, I do. He has that potential, but I can't give him all that. And not only that, I need time. I need to breathe. I need to like come up for air at times, and it's a lot. But at the same time, there have been times where my son will say to me, Mom, especially when I drop his sister off at school, Mom, I want to go to school, and I can't. And I'm like, I want you to go too. I'm struggling to every time we put you in a school, they keep failing us. So I have accepted being a homeschool mom only because I'm afraid to find a school for him, only for them to just fail him again. So after having the meeting with the caseworker, the new one, local authority caseworker, I said to her, I emailed her back because I wasn't too sure if I wanted to. She had mentioned what about trying to find another school, and then I emailed her and I said, I think we should. And I'm going to do my research and look around for schools. So I found one school, and I found it because of my daughter. My daughter was attending this school, and I didn't know this was like it had a good special educational needs program. As I was doing the tour with the other parents, with the majority of them doing the site visit for their special needs child. And at the end, a couple of us parents were in the parking lot talking, and they were explaining, their frustrations about a school that their child's going to now, and why they want the child to go to this school, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow. And when I got to see how the special needs children, particularly the autistic kids who were getting on in that school, I was like, my son, this is perfect for my son. So I sent an email to this caseworker, and I said to her, please, can we get him into the school? So she's like, okay, well, I'll send whatever it is that they send to the school, and then we'll just, cause she's like, we have to wait to hear back to see if they will accept them. But I knew that I remember doing the site visit, and they had said that they only accept kids who are autistic. If there's anything else they have on top of that, they will not take them. It can only be autistic kids. So I was like, well, okay, but I don't know. Something just said just tell the caseworker that and see if what she can do. Maybe she can do something, right? So the school then calls me, and they're just like, they're saying to me, oh, we got the letter from the caseworker saying that you want your son to come to the school. And I said, yeah, but I want him in the ASD program. And they're like, well, unfortunately, one, there's no more room, and two, you can only have autism, nothing else. And I was like, ugh. So she's like, we do have room to put him in mainstream, but just know that he will only be in mainstream settings. He will not be in the SRP setting at all. I was like, no, it's okay. I think I'll pass up. So I go back to the caseworker, and I was just like, well, why? Like, this was just pointless. Like, and so she gets back to me eventually, and was stating that, well, the process is now that even though the school has said no, they have to now prove to the local authority why they feel my son cannot be accepted into the school. If they don't have sufficient enough evidence or whatever it is backing them up, then the next step would be his caseworker, and her superiors will sit down and discuss what if, I guess, they can make it happen to get him into the school. And if they can't, then the next step will be to look for another school. And then I was just like, you know what, screw that, because it's just hard as it. I may try, but it's a lot of work just trying to look for help. Help for a school. And to me, I just feel like, as a local authority caseworker in the county that we're in, and there's not just one, there's plenty of them, they should all have some kind of idea of what schools are, mainstream schools are known for special educational needs children, to help us parents. I feel like they tell you to go and look and then come back with like what your options or whatever. And I'm like, it's already hard as is. Like, especially when it's time consuming, but when you really have to focus on your child who has special needs, it would be nice that these caseworkers who see this every day, see the schools that they're trying to get these kids into, to come and give us some type of reference, to come and give us some type of advice, some type of leeway, push us in the direction that you think is going to help our child. But like I said, I just feel like there is no care in the system. There is no empathy in the system. Everybody's just there for, I think, the money, and just doing their job and sticking by the book. They're just that whole cookie cutter type mentality that they have in the council. And it's just really frustrating. And I just think that they have to do better. They have to do better. And I just feel like I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep pushing here. I ask a lot of questions. Like I said, I don't take no for an answer. I think there is always a will. If there's a will, there's a way. Or if there's a thought, there's a way of making it happen. Because they cannot sit here and tell me that my son is thriving, and my son they just can't say that my son is I should say, they should say that they have failed my son, because my son should be in school, and my son should be learning, and my son should be having a lot of friends. Like, one thing with, for my son is the whole social communication. Where is he learning that at home with just his little brother and sister? Where is he learning that? Right? Every now and then when we're out, but then it's you got to deal with the people who just don't have a sense of humor, or are just the biggest Grinches of all time. But when you're at school and you're with people who are like you, your peers, you pick up, you'll learn, right? My son doesn't have that. He doesn't have friends like he did when he was in school. You know how many birthday parties he was invited to when he was in year 2? And now he doesn't go to any. He is a child. I need to give him that, at least. Have that ability to, I hated school in regards to subjects other than, like I said, the arts, but I loved being in school. I loved having friends and hanging out with my friends and stuff. My son doesn't have that. And so, yeah, I know this was a very long episode. Holy crow. But I have, you just can't summarize all this in 30 minutes. But so this is where I am today. And like I said, literally today, I got that email from his caseworker, local authority caseworker, stating those next steps and what will be done. So I'm just now sitting back, waiting for the school to get back and with their report, and see where we go with that next. So again, anyone out there who's listening, one, thank you, but two, share your thoughts. Share your thoughts. If like, let me know like what you've done, what you're doing, and even if you're not doing anything because you just don't know, share your thoughts, because like I said, I want to make this a platform for all us parents to just let go, let, like I always say, relax, like relax, relate, release, and let go, and share, so that we can help each other, because this is not easy. Okay, this journey is not easy, and I know this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. Okay, so anybody out there who is now beyond the beginning, I need your help. Like, what are you doing? Give me some advice. But yeah, thank you again for watching, and please stay tuned for my next episode. And if there's anything you want me to talk about or share, please leave your comments down below, and I'll try my best to get back to you, because I'm a busy mom, right? So but again, thank you for watching. Y'all stay blessed, take care, take a couple of breaths, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Everything will be okay. All right, take care. Bye.
The journeys of her life, fun, real, and hard sometimes. The memoirs of